All right. Hello, everybody. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas to everybody. How are y'all doing? I am having a very relaxing, easygoing Christmas. I've just been kind of hanging out and doing my thing. I slept in really late. I ate a bunch of junk food, drank a lot of coffee, um, had a FaceTime conversation with my parents and some other family members, which was really nice. My sister and yeah, it's been a pretty easygoing Christmas. Nothing too special. Um, this is like the first Christmas that I've had totally by myself, and I'm okay with that. It's been nice, actually. And yeah, so kind of curious to see what you guys have been up to today, and understandable if you're either not able to be here or just kind of hanging out with the family or doing whatever you're doing. That's totally fine. Um, I did actually like it was really interesting. I there were some like things that I wanted to chat about, just off the cuff stuff. Um, One thing that I was talking about with a few different people, including even my sister today, was we were talking about some various different video games, and I feel like recently that I don't know, like my tastes in games have changed. It's been kind of like I don't know. The games that I've been playing have been very different than what I used to play when I was younger. And I was thinking really heavily about it, especially based on some of the multiplayer game experiences that I've had recently. Um, I've been playing like I've played some Among Us, and I've played. You guys actually saw me probably play Phasmophobia, and I also grabbed a few other multiplayer games that I really want to play. Um, but it's about like the comparative style of what those games are that have made me kind of like think about what kind of games I play and like how much time I spend playing games. Oh, it looks like King Gold is here. Merry Christmas, King Gold. Glad to have you here. Very cool to see you. Oh, gee whiz, I'm just now noticing also that I've got some dropped frames. That's not good. Well, I'll have to fix that later. I'm sorry, guys. I've still been kind of experimenting with the whole stream setup. I'm wondering if I might have to like go and change things back to how I used to have them, but I've been trying to improve the quality. So if you guys notice some skipping or some lag or something like that, I greatly apologize. I'm still testing things out, trying to get it all figured out. Um, but even so, I'm still glad to have you guys here if you guys are hanging out with me or whatever. But anyways, the games. So I was talking about playing a game like Phasmophobia and also comparing that to a game like Among Us, and I've actually found that I don't like Among Us that much. I've played it a few different times with a couple of groups of people, and I just can't get into it. I don't like. I mean, I can understand why people like it so much, but at the same time, like I don't know. It's kind of this like player environment that I'm not super a big fan of. I don't like the whole. I think a part of it is just maybe also because I'm just not good at the game, and maybe because I can't really get into it. Like I have a problem with um, the like lying and corroborating like a story or like a fake alibi or whatever. And that is one of the major turnoffs for me for Among Us is I don't like having to actively make this great effort to um like lie to somebody. in the game. And I mean, I do know that like looking back in history, that there are games that are all about that. Like, I mean, um, like there are board games where you have to like purposely deceive your opponent and things like that. And some of them, it's like some of them I like, but some of them I'm not particularly a fan of. And I don't know what it is. It's like one of the things that really would upset me about playing Among Us is having to like argue with other people and get a point across. Like whether you are deceiving those people or whether it's that you're trying to like tell your side of the story or anything. Like I find it pretty common when I'm playing Among Us that like I sit there and I'm just listening to like two or three people argue with each other. And I'm just sitting there and like you want to like say something, but like you don't want to interrupt them, but you also like I don't know, like want to it's really weird. Like the whole aspect of having to talk over people and like argue your way out of or into a situation, or like trying to like push the blame off of you. Like I don't know, it's not a game I like. And I don't fully understand like I mean, I don't know. I've tried to like think of like other games that are comparative that I would actually maybe like, but it's just the whole like trying to like every time I play a game of Among Us, I'm usually playing with like people who are very like they just want to like go into a long debate or argument or what have you. And it just like it's like I want to be part of this game, but at the same time I'm not necessarily like wanting to talk over you or engage in your argument or whatever. It's hard for me to describe, and it was just really weird because like I was trying to like talk with a couple of people about why I don't like the game. Or I mean, it's not that I don't like it, but it's just not my favorite game. Like I don't want to go out of my way to play it or anything like that. And I think it's literally the fact that I have to come into contact with people who are trying to like challenge everybody or lie to everybody, or I don't know. It's a weird game that I can't super get into. It looks like Bo Falcon is in here. He says Merry Xmas, and Dragon's Lair Gaming's joining in saying Merry Christmas, everybody. And it looks like we've got Fajouk in here as well. He says Merry Day. Yes, it is a day and it should be merry. Absolutely. Um but yeah, anyways, like I don't know. I've kind of been trying to look into more multiplayer games, and I found that I'm much more attracted to games that are oriented with everybody working together. I like the co-op games. I like the games where you're not necessarily fighting over one another to like achieve some specific goal. A lot of it is just like I like the whole working together and getting things done together and like having a good time and goofing off. Like, when I would play Minecraft with like Cinder Shadow and the other guys, like we're all just kind of hanging out, having a good time, being silly, helping one another out, what have you. Or even like I played Phasmophobia with Cinder Shadow and Cobalt Steel, and oh my god, that was so fun. I'm going to be trying to get into playing more Phasmophobia for sure. I want to play more of that game with Cinder Shadow. I want to play that more with Cobalt Steel if he happens to be more available to do so. And maybe some other people. Like, I think that game, Phasmophobia, is so amazing. I might even try to see if I can play it on my own and, like, learn more about the game. I don't know if they have a solo version. I haven't tried to do that yet. But, man, that game's amazing. And, like, the one experience that I've had with it so far made such a major impact on me that I just want to do way more. Fajouk says co-op beats Hidden Traitor. Absolutely. Like I don't know. Like I don't like the whole, like, I guess I'm just not much of a competitive gamer. I mean, I never really have been. Like, even, like, I can even go as far back in my history of playing games to, like, my early days of playing Magic, and, like, you know, like, most of my favorite stuff involved Magic is, like, we're just playing to have fun. Like, we're just having a good time. Like, you know, we're, like, spending time with my friends and playing a couple of games of Magic and, like, having a few beers, or, like, just being silly and ridiculous and having fun, versus, like, I'm gonna go to the LGS and win a standard match and like just be the best at this game and crush all of my opponents. Like, that's not my kind of game. That's not my kind of thing that I'm really into. I guess, I don't know. I'm just not a very, like, in general, competitive person. And so I'm not into competitive games. And, like, when I do play competitive games, I'm just like, oh, I lost, whatever. Like, that's fine. Like, you know, I mean, I've never super cared about losing. I mean, I think I used to be, I want to say that I used to probably be a lot more competitive when I was, like, a small child, you know? And I don't know. I even think I can remember, like, times where, like, I've played games and, like, cheated to win because I was, you know, an obnoxious brat as a kid. So, whatever. But yeah, I want to play more co-op games, and I think those are kind of like, I think that's more of, like, my, like, interest in gaming is playing stuff that's really competitive. And I've definitely been trying to get more into that kind of stuff, finding more not competitive, finding more co-op games that are more in my lane of interest and things like that. But yeah, I don't know. It's weird because I'm definitely not into gaming as much as I used to be, which is kind of funny because I play a lot of games on my channel. Um, like, I don't know what it is. It's like, because sometimes I run into the issue of, like, thinking that I can be more constructive with my time than playing games. And that's hard to escape from for me. I don't know how it is for you guys, but sometimes, like, when I sit down and I'm just playing a game, I'll often be like, oh, I could be spending this time, like, creating something or painting or cleaning the house or doing a chore or whatever, you know? And it's really, like, I don't remember when I started feeling that way, but it's just rough because it feels a lot harder for me to enjoy games as I've gotten older. Um, Also, reading has been taking up a lot of time for me too. Speaking of reading, which actually was going to be, like, my next major topic that I wanted to move into after talking about games for a little bit. I might come back to games, but it just kind of depends. I finally finished Shogun. It took me, like, half a year to get through. Shogun. I finished it. 1,206 pages, I think it was. 2,011 pages, if I include the epilogue. Bofelget says, I built a Christmas red, green, white deck on Arena that gives gifts to opponents with no win con. Played about 75 plus games, super funny, only one person conceded, understood. Alright. I mean, I assume maybe that they had an issue where it was like they mana flooded or mana droughted or something like that. That's cool, man. I don't know. I haven't, you know, I gotta be honest with you guys. I will talk more about this in a minute. Because I really did actually want to talk about this book because it made a major impact on me. But because Bofelgen brought up Magic, there was something that I was going to say about Magic that has been kind of intriguing to me recently. I feel like I talked about it a little bit, but this is a good place to kind of really get into it. Bofelgen says, no, everyone just beat me down with all I gave them. Oh, that's so funny. Um, I feel like I am so much farther away from being interested in magic than I ever have before. And that's to the point of where for the last for pretty much this whole month, I have not watched any magic videos on YouTube. Um, I haven't really touched any magic cards other than painting, I guess. I don't know if like painting cards is still considered being fully involved in magic cards. I mean, I guess they're magic cards, therefore it's magic oriented. Um, I'm so detached from magic. I know nothing about call time. Haven't looked at a single spoiler. Haven't watched. I'm sorry to say this. If Perp, the magic historian, is here and he's just lurking in the background secretly, I'm sorry to say this, buddy, but I have not watched any of the magic videos at all. Nothing about all the call time videos. Haven't watched a single one of them. Now, I mean, like I watched like I'm still watching like the Magic Historian and My Catcher. I still watch like I've basically been distancing myself from the Magic videos. I still come and hang out in the live streams. And I also have been watching the side channel. I think is it Hatcher? I can't remember if it's still called Hatcher or not. But anything he does over there for fun, I've been watching that. And I it's really weird because like I'm not like I've kind of talked about it before that I'm not really super into the idea of telling people to stop playing Magic or I'm boycotting Magic because boycotting is pretty much impossible at this point. And like I'm not trying to like promote the idea of like don't play Magic. I've been basing everything Magic involved with me based on my own personal interest and like what I want to know. And basically I have not bought any cards from any new sets since Ikoria, I think? Because I bought the Triomes. I bought like the Triomes from Ikoria and that was it. And I didn't buy anything else. And I bought those as singles. And that was to add to the cube. But I haven't bought any new Magic cards. I haven't been keeping up with the sets. And I kind of just realized that I don't really care. And like every time I see like a headline or a video that's like Magic players are angry about something, and it's like skip. Like I don't care about what people are angry about in Magic. I don't care about the new cards. I don't care about the spoilers. I don't care about like even the thing it's like, "Oh, the Magic lawsuit." I don't care. Like I don't I haven't even touched my cards since last time I touched my cards was my best friend came over and we just have the habit of playing Cube every single time he comes over. So because of that habit, that's basically the only time I touch my cards anymore, other than painting. You know, I it's like the whole idea that I'm painting cards is so like it doesn't feel like it matters to Magic whenever I paint a card. So I'm really feeling weird about saying whether or not that is Magic related or not. But yeah, I mean I just haven't done anything with Magic and I don't really care about it. It's really weird. And like that's the thing too is cuz that's like not the first major thing like that I've given up on. Like for example, something that was brought up today also while I was talking with my family, because me and my sister we're my sister's a much more hardcore gamer than I am, so we talk about games every once in a while. And so we were talking about games today on in our chat earlier, and she brought up Pokemon, which I was well. She brought up World of Warcraft, and then she brought up Pokemon. Apparently, my sister's playing World of Warcraft again, so that's what she's into. And she was talking about how they have like this event going on World of Warcraft that's like playing Pokemon in World of Warcraft. And then we just kind of got on the topic about Pokemon, and my sister was like, "Oh, Mike, you love Pokemon. Like, you're a major Pokemon fan. You've always been that way." I mean, she didn't say those exact words, but It's true. I was really into Pokemon a long time, like a long, long time. And I actually lost taste for Pokemon when Sun and Moon came out because I believe that Sun and Moon are basically like the worst Pokemon games ever made. They literally were so bad, in my opinion, that I don't even like playing Pokemon anymore. Like, it's really weird. I'm not interested in any of their new games. I'm not interested in any of their new merchandise, which is funny because recently I, was looking at my old Pokemon cards. But that's just me kind of going through older things that I already have. So, like, it's not like I'm spending more money on Pokemon games or spending more money on Magic cards or Pokemon cards or whatever. So it's like if I have it, then it's cool to talk about it and show it off. But if I don't have it, I don't really have the time or the money for that kind of stuff, So it's just kind of weird. But yeah, like Pokemon's another one that I grew up with, and I spent a lot of time playing it and enjoying it. And now I just kind of don't care. I don't care about any of the news going on with Pokemon. I don't care about any of the new games. And I feel like finally, after like I've been playing Magic the Gathering since I was basically 11 years old, and finally after all that time, I feel like I'm finally beginning to put to rest my interest in Magic. It feels like I'm more detached from it now than I ever have been in my entire life. Um, like I said, I don't know anything about Call Time, and I really don't care. I don't care about what everybody's angry about for Magic because everybody's angry about something all the time for Magic. So why bother? Why getting angry about because it's like, why would I want to get angry about this thing? Because once it gets resolved, there's going to be a new thing that I get angry about, and then that gets resolved, and then I get angry about a new thing Magic related, and it's just I'm tired of it. Like, I don't want to be a part of it. I don't want to I don't want to spend my money on it. I don't want to spend my time playing it. I don't want to be angry about something that doesn't affect me. Because I'm sorry, guys, but the majority of the things that Magic players get angry about in the Magic world don't affect you. They don't. And if you're angry, you shouldn't be so angry about it. I'll be straight up. You shouldn't be angry about Magic cards. Nobody should. It looks like the chat log's backing up, so let me kind of catch up with you guys a little bit. Dragon's Lair Gaming says painting cards feeds your artistic need. I don't see it related to the game at all. See, that's how I see it too. I think that's a good way of putting it. I probably should get more into canvas painting. That's something I really, really want to get more into. I just need to practice it, I guess. Rebecca! Merry Christmas, Rebecca and Mr. Ashed. Merry Christmas to the both of you. I hope you're having an amazing Christmas. Glad to have you guys in here. Helfer Gamers, Merry Christmas to you, buddy. Glad to have you in here. He says, hello, everyone. Happy holidays. Fajuk says, too cold to barbecue. Yup, this is not a barbecuing day. Helfer Gamers says, play for fun, not for profit. There you go. Oh my god. And, I swear to god, that's another thing that I'm so detached from, is Magic card prices and talking about anything money related to Magic. I'm done with it. I don't care. I don't want you to open up a booster pack, flip all the way to the back, and show me a rare and tell me it's $5. It's this is $5. No. You spent your $6 on your booster pack. You've gotten a card. It's not worth anything, and if the maximum price is $5, I'll assume you're lucky if you sell it for $3. Just I don't care. Money related Magic stupidity, screw it. I don't want to hear it anymore. I'm so tired of it. Fajuk says, anyone else remember Overpower? I have no idea what that is, my friend. Mr. Ashed said, I played Overpower, but mostly just enjoyed the art. Okay, so it's probably a card game or something with really interesting art. That might be interesting to look into. But yeah, I've never heard of it. But yeah, the Magic stuff is just, I don't know. I just don't care. And I don't really want to waste my time with it much anymore. Yeah. But anyways, I was kind of talking about this, and I really wanted to get back to it because I put a lot of time in to read this book, and I really wanted to talk about it. Shogun, this book that I read, which I finished yesterday, was probably one of the most amazing books I've ever read. I'll probably never forget it. Like all the way from the beginning, it's still fresh on my mind. And I mean, like I said, this took me about half a year to get through. So, like, even when I started it, like months and months ago, um, I still remember it so fresh, and it was so amazing. Like, this book is so amazing, you guys. And it's, from what I understand about it, it's, even though it's historical fiction, so, like, the characters and things like that are, like, not exactly, like, 100% real or totally based on real people. But the overall like timeline and history of what's going on in the book is apparently all factual, which is or relatively true to a degree, like based on realistic events that occurred in Japan at the time that this book supposedly takes place in. So good, like like there's constantly things happening in this book, you guys, and there's multiple main characters, like I would say, and the thing is that's really interesting about it is there are multiple main characters, and there I would say there is no actual villain in the book. There are no villains at all. What you have is a collection of different characters that are all very realistically like people of their time. And what you have is characters that all have a particular perspective on how things should be done or run based on the time and what's going on in the world, because this takes place during the Spanish Inquisition. And there are no villains, but there are characters who are fighting each other or hate each other's guts or are, like battling one another. And the thing is that they give you the perspective of every individual character. So like you would have like, yes, there are probably about 3 or 4 characters that are more central to the plot than other characters, but I would describe as the majority of the characters throughout the book are all important and are all heavily talked about throughout the entire book. And they're all fascinating people. And the thing that's really cool is that like they'll have like one of the central characters who is in a direct like political competition or political battle with another one of the main characters, and they kind of give you the pros and cons of all the characters. So like even if you have the central character who you're voting for initially, because there's, the majority of the story revolves around that central character, and there are probably, like I said, 3 or 4 central characters. So you're like automatically designed to like root for them. But then you have these other central like mainish characters, and you kind of go through their background and you learn about them and you understand like why they see things the way that they do, and like why they are the way that they are, and like how they grew up, and like how they built their opinions and their overall view and stance on their lifestyle and the people around them. And what you end up having is 2 characters who both have flaws and both have really good qualities about them, but they're both competing for different like political reasons or money-based reasons or whatever. And like I said, like there are things about the Spanish that are like really nasty and terrible, but at the same time, like you see that they're like building a society and they're conquering and like coming out into different lands and trying to do what they believe is right for the people that they're invading. Because like like it's the classic thing of like like the people that do things like that, they don't see themselves as the bad guys, and most of the time like they are doing awful things with the intention of doing a greater right. You know, like, which is fascinating because you can still see how they can be having problems and like being like creating issues across like all these different economies and you know, groups of people, but they're still trying to do what they believe is right. So it's fascinating. Like, if nothing else, like just like the psychology of the characters in this book are so fascinating because they feel like totally real people. Absolutely, like nothing about any of the characters in this book feel fake or cardboard or two-dimensional or anything like that. They all feel very real. You can totally believe them as being realistic human beings with motivations and like goals of any normal kind of person. And it's just fascinating. And the thing is too is that like this book is like every character kind of is like I wouldn't say a tragedy, but like you're watching every single character in this book, no matter like who it is, kind of is having a unique internal struggle as they are going through the story. Like every single character is like there is no character who is like fine, like totally okay. Like there's no person or character like cuz there are like characters who are like royalty. Like there's a lot of royalty characters in this book. And like they're rich and they're well off and like, you know, they own like countries and things like that. But the thing is like no character is living totally in the lap of luxury. They have like power. They have to deal with politics and power struggles and people challenging them to you know take over their spot or you know trying to. It's like it's just really interesting seeing the innumerous number of characters in this book, and they're all totally unique from one another, and they all have different motivations and styles of living their life and doing their own kind of thing to like live in this rough, you know, timeline and having to deal with, you know, the Spanish Inquisition and the Portuguese coming in to you know, bring in their religion and things like that. It's fascinating. It's amazing. This book is amazing. Let me catch up a little bit more on the chat. Mr. Shed says, I play... Oh, I already read that. Sorry. Fajouk says, 90s Marvel DC Image Combat TCG. Never heard of it. Devin Noel says, Merry Christmas, brother. Come into Yoke soon and I'll buy you a burger or something. All right. Thank you so much, Devin. I will definitely think about doing that. I appreciate it. Glad to have you, and glad to have you here, and glad you're having a good Christmas, buddy. Fajouk says, listen to an audiobook, then had to get the next two in the series. Does that count as getting sucked into a book series? I mean, that's totally fine. Like, I actually, like, if people can absorb the knowledge of a good book through an audiobook, then more power to you. I personally can't. It's kind of like, it's actually funny because I learned this about myself when, like, sort of into high school, but more so into, like, my early college years when I was still going to college. I learn and absorb information better by reading. Which is interesting because that was part of a major struggle that I had to come to terms with in high school. I'm not very good at learning through listening. So like when I'm sitting in a classroom listening to a teacher for hours on end, my brain is not good at absorbing the material that is being spoken at me. It's like it goes in one ear and comes straight out the other, you know? So I usually absorb information best by reading. So like, and I learned that because I used to go to a public high school, and when I was a junior in public high school, I left that public high school because I was doing really badly in school and wasn't able to have a good grade point. So I left there and I went to a homeschooling situation, which is I would meet with a teacher once a week, every week, and basically they would just kind of go over a basic lesson of pretty much everything I needed to know, and then they would give me all the information I needed in text and paperwork. And I would take that stuff home and I would absorb it and learn it and reproduce it on paper. And then it was actually really cool. Once I started doing homeschooling, I would actually have one hardcore school day where I would sit down at home, I would pull out all my schoolwork, all my books, and I would just read everything and do all the schoolwork all in one day. And I would literally spend the whole day doing it. And then I would just basically screw off for the rest of the week. I would do whatever the hell I felt like for the rest of the week, which was awesome. And that's kind of when I really discovered that I learn best by reading. And that's why I can't do audiobooks. If I'm listening to an audiobook, I'm not going to pick up anything. It's really tough on me. Which is actually funny because, like, for example, I also watch like a lot of different shows and movies and things like that with subtitles. Because sometimes when I'm listening, I miss stuff, and reading helps me absorb it better. Which is funny because my dad actually raised me that way. My dad is deaf in one ear. Because he's deaf in one ear, whenever we watch TV together or movies together, he always has subtitles on so he doesn't miss anything. And I think that's kind of a thing for me, you know, like if I'm able to like read what's on the screen, I can absorb it like that, and I'm okay with missing whatever I'm listening to. Which is also funny because even when I'm at work, like I was actually thinking about this yesterday. When I was working yesterday, I had to have things repeated to me multiple times because I would forget things. And it would just slip off my mind, and I would have to like ask them to re-say it because I didn't catch it or I didn't absorb it or whatever. So yeah, that's the thing, is I prefer actually reading physical books. And I mean, I've kind of tried to get into reading online, but there's something about holding a physical book that feels so right to me. Like collecting, owning physical books, reading them, absorbing the information. That's what I'm all about. Let's see. Helfer Games says, dinner's ready, table's set. Hope every one of you get to enjoy some good food tonight, even if it's takeout or solo or otherwise. Talk to you all later, everyone. Have a great Christmas, Helfer Gamers. I assume you probably already left, but Merry Christmas to you, dude. Thank you for stopping by and hanging out. Dragon Slayer Gaming says, could you say that life or existence can be considered the antagonist in Shogun? That's a pretty good way to I think that it's overall, like, a lot of what it comes down to is most of the characters are just trying to survive. And not only survive, but also be the best at what they're doing. Like, I mean, like, for example, the major characters in this book, there's a few of them, there's Lord Toranaga, who's like, it's funny because they give a character who is more relatable named Blackthorn. But I would say that the book more is revolving around Lord Toranaga. And Blackthorn is basically a foreigner from England. And, oh wait, is it England or is it... I think it might be somewhere else. Maybe not England. I can't remember. I can't remember exactly where it's from, because they only talk about it very briefly in the beginning, when he's establishing where he's from and all that. But they have, like, an English character named Blackthorn, and I think they purposely set him up as the character that's supposed to be the most relatable to the reader. But the thing is that the other major character is Lord Toranaga, who is the... he basically is like the overlord, essentially. He's not like the highest character. It's really interesting. There's like a whole hierarchy with the ranking system. He is the Taiko, that's what it's called. Lord Toranaga is referred to as the Taiko, and he's basically the major overlord, but there is somebody in the book who usurps the Taiko, well, not usurps, but is more important and more powerful than the Taiko. But the thing is that that character who is more powerful than the Taiko, who is Toranaga, is like 6 years old. So the whole thing is that there's like this major this character who is supposed to be the next major lord of Japan, and he's a higher rank than the Taiko, which is Lord Toranaga. But he's too young to rule, and that's kind of like what a lot of it is about. And then there's like a council of like regents who is basically like a group of people that are all supposed to keep in check like all the other like parts of the hierarchy, but like the circle of regents is like not actually an official group. So it's like an introductory group, like they invented the Council of Regents like for the first time, and they built it off of a bunch of lower members in the system that are part of the royal hierarchy. And the idea is that they invented this Council of Regents who's supposed to basically keep all of the like higher above like parts of this hierarchy in check, but they never existed before, so it's this big controversial thing. And it's super interesting. Like it's the actual political build of what's going on in the book is so fascinating. It's so absolutely fascinating. And the whole concept of the book, Shogun, the name, is there is no person in the book that is a shogun. Nobody ever becomes a shogun in the book. But the whole point is that the highest ranking Taiko can become a shogun if they are able to, they basically have to like conquer and they have to like conquer all of the lower ranking parts of the hierarchy, and then are also have to basically get permission from the lord who is above the Taiko, which is the kid who's 6 years old in the book. And it's super interesting. And like there's this whole like there's like interweaving conspiracies throughout the book. There's like all these different like lower ranking not lower ranking officers, lower ranking characters in the royalty hierarchy are all kind of like trying to sabotage one another while simultaneously doing everything in their power to look like they're not sabotaging one another. And like there's like all of these intermingling like conspiratorial groups in the book that are all trying to like work with one another and sabotage one another. And like one of the really interesting things that they talk about is all of the different Ronin groups, which are like basically Ronin are ex-samurai. There's samurai who don't have lords. So like when a samurai loses his lord or does an act that is considered to be blasphemy within the code of Bushido, they lose their ranking as samurai and lose their lord, and they become Ronin. Or like I said, if their lord is murdered, they automatically become Ronin. And Ronin are usually rogue samurai that also function as mercenaries, or sometimes in various situations in the book they can sort of pledge allegiance to a lord unofficially. So like there's these multiple conspiracies throughout the book where some of the lords in the hierarchy are hiring Ronin for the purpose of having those Ronin be loyal to them, but also, like, if those Ronin were captured and questioned, they would just be, oh, I'm just a rogue Ronin who serves no lord, so I don't know what you're talking about, you know? And they would even, like, let themselves die on their word for that kind of thing, you know? It's crazy. And another thing that was super interesting is this book, I gotta tell you guys, this book makes the ninja. So there are ninja in this book, and ninja in this book are the scariest goddamn people I have ever, like, I have never seen in any form of media. I've never seen, like, in a movie, in any other books I've read, in video games, in television shows, nothing. I have never seen, like, anything able to present ninja as terrifying as they are in this book. Like, in this book, there are a couple of encounters with ninja clans, and they are like unstoppable forces of like death and destruction. Like, they are legitimately, ninja in this book are like legitimately terrifying. Like, absolute, like, they're just like, they're murder machines. Like, they kill everybody and everything. They burn everything down. They destroy buildings. They're demolitionists. They're masters of silent assassination. They'll even kill themselves if they're in, like, there was a part in the book where a ninja raid happens and one of the ninjas get captured, and they start questioning the ninja, and the ninja just kills himself, like, right there on the spot. No struggle whatsoever. He just kills himself. Like, they're terrifying. Like, ninja are so scary in this book. Like, legitimately. Like, the ninja as presented in this book are, like, legitimately, like, when you're watching, like, a super scary, efficient, like, killer in, like, a horror movie, that's, like, the ninja in this book. They are so absolutely terrifying. And I've never seen or read anything that has ever been able to make ninja look as terrifying as they are in this book. It's amazing. I'm going to catch up a little bit more. Dragon Slayer says goodbye to Hell for Gamers. Fajouk says working fast food and playing Minecraft means audiobook is the better way to do books for me. I understand you're not me. Yeah, it's all good. Oh, hey, my dad's here. Merry Christmas, Dad. I was talking about you a little bit earlier. And Dad came in to listen to me talk about Shogun. He says, James Clavell wrote screenplays for The Fly, the original, and The Great Escape, among others. Oh, okay. Well, I mean, I don't know much about the original Fly, but The Great Escape is a movie I really love, so that's really interesting to know. Fajouk says, are they good plays? And my dad says, The Fly is good, The Great Escape is great. Yeah, I love The Great Escape. That's definitely a favorite movie of mine. Fajouk says, wait, hold up. Ronin isn't a common knowledge thing. Well, I mean, first of all, Fajouk, you spelt Ronin incorrectly. So, no, it's not common knowledge. But yeah, no, I don't think, like, everybody necessarily knows what a Ronin is. And, like, it's really interesting because, like, this book presents Ronin, like, the concept of Ronin, in a lot of really interesting ways. Because, like, the way that Ronin function in this book, it's like there's different kinds of Ronin. Like, there are, like, Ronin that are just, like... They're, like, Ronin that are, like, bandits, basically. That just rob people for no reason. Or, like, are surviving as outcasts. There are Ronin who are travelers, who are just kind of, like, out seeking and exploring. There are Ronin who, like, function as mercenaries. There are Ronin who function as assassins. There are Ronin who, like, are trying desperately to become samurai again. So, like, for example, like, there's groups of Ronin who will pledge their loyalty to a lord, but they won't become samurai in the process of pledging their loyalty to a lord. So, like, for example, like if like, usually it would be a daimyo. So, like, a daimyo is the rank lower than it. So it's like there's daimyos, there's above daimyo is hatmoto, that's it. So there's daimyo, there's hatmoto, there's taiko, and then there's I can't remember the name of it, but it's like an emperor. That's like the 6-year-old that I was talking about. I just can't remember the name of him. And then above that is Shogun. So, and Shogun is a big deal. Like, Shogun is like, I'm the overlord of everything because I'm a warlord. Shogun's, like, as presented in the book, a shogun is a overlord that is appointed by the emperor and has more power than the emperor for the purpose of being a warlord, which sounds really weird because, like, the emperor still has, I wish I could remember the name of it, but I'm just going to refer to it as an emperor because the child emperor is basically a child emperor. So the emperor has, like, power over, like, the majority of the politics and, like, the overall wealth and distribution of that wealth and, like, land and, like, all that stuff. Like, they are the main lord of everything. But, like, the emperor can appoint a shogun. And, like, a shogun is basically an overlord for the purpose of creating, usually, war. So, like, they're usually used as, like, somebody that has more military power and more control over, like, the distribution of wealth for the purpose of creating war. So, like, and that's what the whole thing is about, because the book basically centers around a war that may or may not happen. And the idea is that if that war does happen, then it's very likely that the child emperor will appoint a shogun. And that's basically what the plot kind of revolves around. And it's not necessarily that somebody becomes a shogun, but the book and plot revolve around the idea that a shogun, like a shogunate, could actually occur. And it's all about the building up of that and whether or not it actually happens. So, like, anyways, I kind of got distracted, which is there's the daimyos, and the daimyos, who are their own kind of lords within the hierarchy of royalty for this system. The daimyo can basically go to a group of ronin, if they're the right kind of ronin. You have to be careful, because some ronin are dangerous. And like I said, there's a whole bunch of different groups of ronin. And, like, they can go to a group of ronin, and they'll basically say, as a ronin, if you pledge your loyalty to me as a daimyo, and you work hard enough to, you know, prove your loyalty to me, then over time, I will bring you out of your ronin state, and you will be a samurai under the Bushido Code under my lordship as a daimyo. So, like, there are multiple times where that happens in the book, where, like, there are daimyos who will hire ronin as, you know, like, to be loyal to them. But at the same time, those ronin are not allowed to claim that they are samurai under that daimyo's protection. So they're still ronin. So, like, if they, even though they pledge their loyalty to a daimyo, if they get caught as a ronin doing a job to prove their loyalty, then they're not allowed to basically give up the information of that daimyo. Like, they're not allowed to say, oh, well, blah, 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 the daimyo, like, hired me as a ronin to do this job. So, and it's really interesting because a lot of people would say, well, what would prevent a ronin from, you know, giving up the daimyo who hired them? Honestly, their word. Like, no joke. Like, a lot of the politics in this story revolve around the Bushido Code. And the Bushido Code is basically loyalty through word of mouth. Like, not even joking, you guys. Like somebody can be like, I am, like I said, like in that situation with the daimyo hiring the ronin, like, they can basically say, prove your loyalty to me, and I'll give you my word that I will turn you back into a samurai. You know, and like and in their culture, as they explain in this book, in their culture, that's like a binding agreement. That's like a law-binding thing. So, like, there's, like, it's really interesting because they also do play around with that in the book. They actually do play around with the, because like like I said, there's a character named Blackthorn who is basically the Englishman character in the book, and there are multiple situations that he comes across where he's like learning how like the Bushido code is built on like trust my word. Like I give you my word and that's all you can trust. And Blackthorn comes into a lot of problems with that, where he can't like he's like, so you're saying that you're going to give me your word and that's it. Like you're not actually going to physically compensate me. I just have to trust you. Like, and he has a lot of trouble coming to terms with that in throughout the book. It's really interesting. And there are even times where that's violated. So, for example, I was talking about Ronin and Ninja. Like, especially, like, the Ronin that are, like, bandits or, like, mercenaries or travelers. Like, are not trying to get back into the Bushido. They're trying to kind of live their lives instead. And like I said, a lot of them become bandits or highwaymen. And also I talked about the ninja. So like the rogue groups of Ronin and the ninja don't care about Bushido and like loyalty through word of mouth. You know, like I trust your words. They don't believe in that stuff. So like that's what makes them really scary characters. Like the bandits that are Ronin who don't care, and the ninja, especially the ninja, are really scary because they don't live by the system of you trust each other's words. And it's really fascinating because whenever like those rogue elements come into play with their political system or like how they, you know, pledge loyalty to one another or whatever, it becomes a big mess and it throws their whole system out of whack, and it even makes the characters like turn on each other and they don't know how to deal with that because they're so used to, you know, loyalty and Bushido and whatever. Really fascinating. Really fascinating. Let's see. So Fajouk says, just because I have issues with grammar and spelling doesn't mean I don't know what they are. I'm just giving you a bad time, Fajouk. It's all good, man. I'm not trying to push your buttons or nothing. I'm just, you know, being silly with you. Lazarus says to Fajouk, Ronin are considered scum by samurai because they failed. Yeah. And he also says, as I recall, Blackthorn had trouble with the concept of honor for a long time. Yeah, it's a major, like, watching Blackthorn struggle to, first of all, learning to, like, speak. Because you actually follow him through him trying to learn how to speak and things like that. Like, speak Japanese and, like, learn how to communicate with others. And on top of that, him just trying to come to terms and understand how Japanese politics and, like, trust and loyalty and all that stuff works. He really struggles with it. And it's so fascinating because, like I said, he's kind of like a rogue element in the story where it's like he's an outsider looking in, which is kind of like awesome because he plays a good character for the reader to kind of put himself into. Like it's a great way for the reader to kind of personify themselves as, because Blackthorn is, like I said, he's that outsider looking in like us, and it's like he is like, as we, the reader, are learning about the politics and the economics and the Bushido code and all that stuff through this book, we're also watching Blackthorn learn to deal with it and cope with it as well, which makes him a really interesting and relatable character. Fajouk says, I'm still looking for the Rat King. Oh, well, I appreciate that. That's definitely one of the... I only have... So, I also have here right in front of me, I have Taipan. This is the next book I'm going to be reading, which is part of the Shogun series. So, this one's a bit thinner. I believe it takes place a little bit after this book, because all the books are sequential to one another. They kind of go into a timeline. They weren't all written sequentially, but the books have a particular order in which to be read. So, for example, Taipan was written before Shogun was, but Shogun is supposed to be read before Taipan. So that's just kind of like the order of it, I guess, based on the timeline. And let me see if I can get, because there's a collection of books. Yeah, so the only one I'm missing is King Rat. I was right. So King Rat is the one of the set that I'm missing. I also have Noble House over there too, which is also the Noble House comes after Taipan. So yeah, I'm considering, like, I would describe Shogun as like literally like reading a masterpiece. And so I'm really excited to get into Taipan. Like, I have no idea what's going to happen, but I'm super excited to get into it. And I will say this also, which is super interesting. For the ending for Shogun, was not expecting it. Not in the slightest. Not at all. I had no idea that Shogun, the book, was going to end the way that it did. It totally caught me by surprise. I won't spoil anything for anybody who is curious enough to read it. But it is an ending that totally catches you off guard. And it also has like a one-page epilogue, which really the one-page epilogue at the end of Shogun really like encapsulates the entire book perfectly, like beautifully. And it's funny because, like I said, the epilogue is like one page. It's literally like, I think like 2 paragraphs long, but it gives you just the right amount of information that can perfectly wrap up the entire book. It's amazing. Like, I had no idea that they were going to end it the way that they did, and I was impressed with how they presented the epilogue at the end of the book as well. Lazarus, my father, says King Rat was Clavel's first novel. It's about Clavel's time in Japanese internment camp when Clavel was tortured. I did not know that. That's really interesting. I thought Taipan was the first one. I thought that Taipan was the book that was released first, and King Rat was the last one. Interesting. I'm super curious now. I'll have to look that up again, but I thought I remember hearing that Taipan was the first. Anyways, guys, I'm going to catch up on the chat log just a little bit more really quick, and then I got to wrap it up because I'm already 3 minutes over, and I didn't even realize. I was so into talking about that book. I've wanted to talk about Shogun for quite some time now, and obviously I wanted to talk about it while I was reading it, but I was like, no, I have to like talk about it after I've completely finished it. So that's why I did this, and I mean, I got to talk about a couple of other things at the beginning, but I was so glad I got to talk about Shogun, because that book was so sweet, man! If you guys are curious, I highly recommend it. It's a huge book, like, not joking, like, look at the thickness of this thing. It's a big fat tome, but it's so worth it. It's such a great book. And I mean, if you're into audiobooks too, then do that. Like, I mean, if you're better at, consuming information by audiobook, then do it. It's great. Like, it's a great book. Absolutely fantastic. Fajouk says, reading Dragon Riders of Pern. I remember you telling me about that. I understand how she won the Hugo Award. It should be a classic science fiction work, at least the books I've read. Okay. I might try it and check it out, maybe. But other than that, guys, I'm going to say I'm outie. Merry Christmas to everybody. Thank you all so much for being here. I had a great time. I'm going to say all the normal stuff, which is like, a comment, and subscribe, and also hit that notification bell so you guys are going to know when I'm going to be doing things like this. And other than that, I'm just going to say, follow your dreams, guys, okay? Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Season's greetings, all that wonderful stuff, tidings of joy, wonderful things that involve Christmas and Christmassy goodness. All right, I'll check you guys later.